Good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting all of us to join you this evening. And Helen, thank you. Thank you for having us and planning such an incredible event for everybody here. I'm Pam Gutman, and I am from the community colleges here in the Bay Area, representing advanced transportation and logistics. But what I wanted to do before I started that discussion was share some of my thoughts about what it was like sitting where you're sitting way back in the day when I was thinking about the future. I didn't know what I thought about a career. I knew what my parents thought I should do. I was supposed to be pre-med and be a doctor and do all those things that they had never really done themselves. And I didn't realize that at the time. But I decided, to go off to college, which I did. I put myself through school, and I was working in the hospitality industry, working full-time as a waitress, hostess, etc. And that's what actually kept me in school. Because when I was working in a restaurant, working as a cocktail waitress, in those days people smoked a lot, so it was just terrible. You came home smoking, smelling like an ashtray. That made me think I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. I wanted to do something else. I wasn't quite sure, so I began to explore what I wanted to do. And little did I know at the time, I was riding a little Vespa motor scooter. I couldn't afford a car to get around to college and such. I didn't realize then that riding that Vespa motor scooter would actually come back to be a big part of my career in transportation, because later on in life, I actually worked in the Vespa motor scooter factory in Italy for a year. And that was something that I always wanted to do, is work overseas. And these little pieces began to kind of fall into place as I was exploring careers and life in general. And one thing I learned was whatever I learned, the skills I developed, no one could ever take that away from me. I could provide value and work and make a living and be independent as long as I had that ambition and drive to achieve and learn and develop skills. And in the transportation sector, it's hard work. But if you like to fly, if you like to drive, if you like to move things around, if you like to fix things, if you're curious, if you want to find solutions, the transportation industry is a very exciting and dynamic place to think about a career. At the community colleges in the Bay Area, there are 14 that have automotive programs. And at those programs, you learn how to do a lot of different things in terms of fixing, repairing, and maintaining an automobile, a truck, transit bus, rail, aviation. The programs themselves are 2 years, but you have to also pass certification tests. And they're challenging. In aviation, for example, the tests that you learn, have to study for and prepare for, you have to learn very extensive and in-depth knowledge about different areas that the FAA has decided you must learn. So yes, you have to study and prepare, but guess what? When you graduate, you can go anywhere you want in the world. You have a job that will take you to whatever country, whatever city, whatever location you want. You will never be out of work. There will always be a job for you. So at our colleges, in automotive, for example, you can learn all about alternative fuels and electric hybrid. Electric cars are the hot thing right now. If you want to be in a, have an IT car, it's definitely the Tesla. Whenever I show up on a campus with a Tesla car, everybody goes crazy for it. All the students are just overjoyed to see it, to check it out. Parents are thrilled with it because they realize that in transportation, we are in a very big transition with technology. So in addition to traditional automotive, internal combustion engines, electric vehicles, semi-autonomous vehicles, all of these new technologies are exciting and fun to learn about. Even in auto body and collision, you have to learn about sensors. You have to learn about calibration and how to put all that together. In aviation, we have the glass cockpit, avionics, all kinds of new technologies that require you to maintain a continuous excitement and enthusiasm for your job. Continuous education and training is part of this world. You will never be bored. You'll always be learning something new, and it's a lifelong element that will keep your skills fresh and keep you not just employable, but give you a fascinating and full-time career. Drones are fun, but drones are also an opportunity to enter so many different occupations because they're ubiquitous. If you want to go into firefighting, you can pick up drone skills and you can be mapping all the wildfires in Northern California, which is what they're doing with the drones. Most of the fire departments now have 10 to 20 firemen who are drone operators. The same thing with early responders, the police force. They're using drones across the board. So if that's a technology that interests you and excites you, you can use it to develop your own business, or you can go to work for one of the many companies who are looking at it as part of their ongoing operation. Also, as part of this, our partnerships with our employers is a very critical component to what the community colleges do in technical education, because we're very pragmatic. We're giving you the skills to get a real job now. So it's very important for us, and that's part of my job, is to make sure that our auto programs, for example, are aligned with what's going on with the cars that are on the road today, to make sure that our curriculum is keeping current with all the new technologies on the road. But it's important to also look down the road and keep your eye on the horizon. So having a partnership with Tesla, for example, is a very critical part of our programs. Tesla Academy is now at Evergreen Valley College down in San Jose, and they're teaching advanced electrical courses to our students who apply to do the START program there. And the Tesla program is challenging. You have to work hard in that program. You start at 8 in the morning, you go home at 5 at night, but most of the students stay later to actually get prepared for the next day. And then the internship program available to those students starts on Saturday, so that you can apply everything that you've learned during the week on the job at a Tesla service station. Now, you're paid for that internship, and that's one of the things that we really believe in the transportation area. If you're doing an internship to explore a job, to think about a job, you are paid. Your time is valued. Your contribution is valued. You are an investment for that company. One thing I wanted to suggest to many of the students in the room, because I know I didn't think about this for quite a number of years, and I wish I had. When you're thinking about a company that you're going to go to work for, do your research. Find out, how do they treat their employees? What kind of training do they provide? What kind of a culture do they provide for you? Because you are going to be working for them, working very hard. But make sure that they have your long-term interests at heart too, and provide that training and education that you need on an ongoing basis. And if you should choose to go on, maybe for a 4-year degree, if that's what you decide. In fact, some of our automotive students who, for example, a couple of them from De Anza College went to work for Lyft Level 5, their R&D company in Palo Alto developing autonomous vehicle systems. They only had 2-year degrees. But once they got into that company and saw what was going on, they got so excited, they wanted to get into that upper level pathway. And guess what? Their education for the 4-year degree is being paid for by the company. So take a look at that. I didn't think about it initially, and I wish that I'd had, but I pass it on to you. Because for some of our students, when they go to work for a company, they're happy. In the automotive industry, there are so many different opportunities, which I'll talk about in a moment. But let me see, this will advance. Oops. Did it die? There it goes, thank you. So I wanted to actually share with you some of the actual job openings and starting salaries, because I know that that's very important. Now, the starting salaries for many of the jobs I've talked about don't quite hit the $100,000 mark per the statistics that we have, but many of them push it pretty hard. But in some cases, especially with the aviation technicians, yes, the starting salary is between $66,000 and $71,000, but in the Bay Area, because there's so many job openings for these jobs, the actual starting salaries are going much higher. And if you do well in the first couple of years, the $100,000 mark is very easily attained. So in the automotive technology area, the median starting salary is about $48,000 to $52,000. In the heavy-duty mechanics, and these are the diesel mechanics, and diesel is transitioning to more electric. So the type of training that those companies are now offering is actually focusing on electric vehicle technology as well. So if you go to work for one of the transit agencies, for example, in the area, they will be providing to you additional training for electric vehicle technology. Auto body collision and repair, they are desperate. They have lost so many people to retirements already. The openings there are actually much higher than the numbers are reporting. And they are desperate. They're actually competing and offering all kinds of incentives and bonuses and all kinds of things to attract young people into that industry. And again, the technology is impacting them very highly, so some of their older workers really need to get upskilled as well. So some of our programs are focused on helping those workers transition into these new technological levels. Aviation mechanics, we have 4 colleges in the Bay Area, or already identified them for you, for a city college here at the International Airport in San Francisco, College of Alameda over at Oakland Airport. Those are the 2 schools that are closest to you. Both of them have FAA certified training programs. It's a very rigorous course. It's very challenging, but again, if you go through the 2-year program and pass there's 4 certifications that are FAA required and hands-on practical exam as well. You have a job with one of the major airlines. You can go around the world wherever you want to go and have a lifelong career. And very quickly, in terms of salaries, for an AMT, you're going to be hitting the $100,000 mark very quickly. In automotive, I just wanted to go into the numbers a little more because even though the starting salary is between 47 and 52, I wanted to dig into those numbers a little more because it depends on where you work in automotive. If you work for one of the big dealerships versus working for one of the big manufacturers, there is a difference in the salary structure. There's also a difference in how broad that career is. You can go in as an automotive technician, but there are different pathways that you can get into as a result. You can, the master technician, for example, in the automotive industry, with just 5 years experience here in the Bay Area, the salary is around $140,000 plus housing with some of the employers. That's nothing to sneeze at. One of our students down at Monterey Peninsula College who graduated from the 2-year program down there, in 5 years, he and his wife bought a house. Now, they worked hard and they saved very vigorously, but they bought a house in 5 years. When I heard that, that just made me smile because these young folks are really hardworking and they're very diligent and they're making their life very successful. And they already have a house after 5 years. The other big jobs there in the automotive area include service advisors, shop foremen, service managers, sales consultants, and of course general managers. So there's a large career spectrum for you to consider with those jobs. We're also developing a new pathway for technicians in automotive because of all the advanced technologies. And this is more of a diagnostician, advanced electrical pathway. And this is also because of all the new technologies and semi-autonomous driving that. And those jobs, we don't have the exact numbers on that as yet because the companies are all Silicon Valley companies, to be honest, and they don't share that information with us, but they've hinted that they're at least 20% above the regular technician pathway to start. But they won't give me the specific data, unfortunately. Now, in aviation, as both Laurel and I have mentioned, those jobs basically for the aviation and power plant technicians are about $110,000 after the first 2 or 3 years, and they ramp up from there. And of course, I know there's a couple of folks interested in being pilots. Pilots, co-pilots, flight engineers, those median salaries are over the $200,000 mark. Same thing with air traffic controllers. So there are lots of jobs in the aviation industry that are extremely well paid. that are there waiting for you. There are hundreds of job openings in the Bay Area in aviation, and we need to have a better pathway with the high schools for those jobs. In terms of the industry overall, I've already mentioned how the industry is in the middle of a major transition because of all the new technologies. And as a result, these are exciting opportunities for everyone in the room. It's also a cross-discipline curriculum, so the students in the room who might be interested more in the IT area, engineering area, or IoT, automotive and aviation are a great career path. There are tremendous opportunities, and for the parents in the room, the laptop is the new toolbox. This is not a dirty hands job. This is a very sophisticated, demanding job with great long-term opportunities for your students. So in closing, I just wanted to again reinforce the fact that this particular industry really stresses continuous education and training. That is part of this industry. That is part of your futures. If you have any questions, we have a table outside. I'll be very happy to speak with you further. Thank you.
Thanks, Pamela.